Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to go over 20 study hacks to help you start the school year right. Now this is going to be rapid fire. I'm going to go over some of my favorite study hacks, and some of them you might have heard before if you've seen any of my other videos, and some of these may be completely new, so be sure to stay tuned for the entire list in order for you to start the school year off with the best study tips in mind. And of course, be sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on any of my content featuring life science and life lessons here on this channel. Alright, number one is find your green time. Now I've heard this referred to as different things. I'll call it green time in this video, but what this basically means is the time of day when you are the most productive. The time of day where your brain just turns on and feels like it can do the most things, it can pay attention. Now this is going to be different for everyone because of their lifestyle and circadian rhythms, and sometimes your schedule doesn't always match with your green time. For example, if you're a high school student and you have to wake up super early but you feel the most productive late at night, may not be the best thing to stay up really late at night to do your work. But if you can rearrange your schedule at all, try to find the time of day where you're going to be able to get the most done and be the most productive and put a good chunk of your schoolwork in that part of your day. For me, I am the most productive in the mornings. I feel the most energized. I can tackle the most things, think the most critically and creatively during that time. So for me, I like to make my cup of coffee, get up super early in the morning, and get a few things done. Now, my entire workday doesn't fit into my morning, but I find I am the most productive at the very start of the day. So find the time that works for you. Number two is habit stacking. Now you might have heard of this as doing two habits at once, which is kind of the same thing, but basically it's getting into the habit of doing one thing and then doing another. So for example, washing your face and then brushing your teeth before you go to bed at night. But for you, this could be something as simple as whenever you get to your homeroom and you unpack your laptop, you also check your email for the day. Or whenever you get home, you're done relaxing, you've had some time to decompress, you open up your computer and you make sure you have all of your homework listed and figured out what you need to do for that night as you have your afternoon snack. And this doesn't just have to be two habits, it can be two or three, and it can be as simple as whenever you make your lunch the night before school is also when you put your backpack and your chargers all together so you don't forget them when you're going to school. All right, number three is temptation bundling. Similar to habit stacking, this is where you're doing something that you like along with something that you have to get done, sort of as a reward along the way. So for example, you take the snack example again, you have a special snack that you treat yourself to whenever you're doing your math homework because you don't really like to do your math homework, but you are enjoying it because you have a little bit of a temptation or a reward along with the activity. This helps you enjoy something during the activity instead of just hanging it in front of yourself as a reward for later on. All right, number four is multitask, but the right way. So your brain can't actually multitask very well when it is dealing with something that is cognitively heavy. So for example, your brain is not going to do a good job paying attention to a show or music while you're trying to do important problems for your science class or you're studying for your history test. But you can do things that have a low cognitive load along with something that has a higher cognitive load. For example, you could put on a podcast or YouTube lecture about the science topic that you're studying while you go on a walk or doing some exercise. You can watch a YouTube video while you're on an exercise bike. You can do flashcards while you're on the bus to school. So as long as you're multitasking with something that doesn't require the same type of cognitive energy, you might be able to do a few things at the same time. All right, number five, when it comes to notes, good is better than pretty. So I know a lot of people at the start of the school year have these great ideas of doing bullet journaling or having fancy note-taking styles with pretty colored pens, but in the long run, the stuff that's going to help you remember are notes that are clear, sparse enough to get across the main ideas, and something that you can go back and use later for studying. This also brings me to point number six, which is when it comes to notes, a lot of notes does not mean that they are better. So actually, verbatim note takers are not going to be as strong note takers as people who are able to parse out the main ideas and have good bullet points, because what you're doing as you are simplifying those notes and making them shorter is actually going through the information in your head, thinking about it, and storing it in a new way. This helps you understand the ideas and retain them for longer. So remember, good notes don't have to be super, super long. Number seven, you might have heard of active recall as a study strategy, which basically means quiz yourself all the time, especially right after a study session and then a little bit later, 24 or 48 hours. Make sure to give yourself a gap, time to forget, and then time to remember information. The more you practice active recall and trying to think of that information that you already received and then put it out there again, the better you're going to remember it down the road for a quiz or a test or a class discussion. So whether that's flashcards, practice questions, or just explaining the the information you learned in class to a friend. Quiz yourself all the time. All right, number 8 is something I've kind of already mentioned a little bit, but to make your studying mobile. Don't just restrict your studying or your homework to one particular location. That's going to limit you and make you less flexible than somebody who has flashcards or has the ability to access their study materials on their phone on the go. This way, if you have a minute where you're waiting somewhere, instead of just scrolling whatever site or app that you like to scroll, you can take out your study material and take advantage of small chunks of time. This also goes back to number 7, where you can quiz yourself wherever you are if you have your flashcards in your backpack or your notes on your phone. Don't be afraid to use new and different studying tools. Like, for example, try podcasts this year, or listen to the audio of a YouTube explainer video about the content that you're studying in class. All right, number 9 is to physically move. When you're in the middle of a long study session, it is great to be able to get your blood flowing, stop and take a break. So whether that's working at a standing desk, taking a mental break to go and take a walk, be outside with your friends, and then coming back to your studying, all of this can benefit you by being more refreshed and able to take on new information after a period of time. Which brings me to number 10, which is, if you haven't already, you should try the Pomodoro method. The Pomodoro studying method is about chunking your studying time and giving yourself timed study intervals along with specifically programmed in breaks where you have to put your work away after a set period of time. Now, the traditional Pomodoro method starts with 25 minutes of work time, 5 minutes break, 5 times, and then you take a longer break after those 5 initial sessions. You can chunk the time however you want to, though. Just make sure you do time it and take the breaks when the timer goes off. This will help you refresh your brain and get back on track when it's time to get back to work. I've used the Pomodoro method at work a lot, and it's super effective, especially in preventing mental fatigue. I love being in a flow state and really digging into my work, but if I find I've gone too long without taking any breaks, I do start to drag and I'm not as quick and efficient as I could be. So make sure you schedule those breaks in, Pomodoro or whatever method you choose. All right, number 11 is to adjust your video player speed. More than likely, you'll have to watch a video or two for any number of classes that you'll be taking this year. I prefer to watch my videos on 1.5, even 1.75, 2 times speed, as long as I can still retain the information. If you're somebody who needs to slow the video down though, please take advantage of that as well. It is okay to turn a video speed down, even mine, I know I talk fast, in order to retain the information in the way that best suits your needs. All right, number 12, when it comes to studying, a brain dump is more effective than highlighting your notes. So instead of going to your notes and highlighting all the keywords and pieces of information that you think you'll need to review for a test, put the notes away and take a blank sheet of paper and write down all the information you remember from them, especially what you think will be important. Then go back, compare your brain dump with your notes, see what you missed, see what errors and gaps in your knowledge you have, and do it again. This is going to be much more effective than just the highlighting method for studying, which is shown to be not as effective when it comes to other studying methods. Study hack number 13 is to take a note card while you read and cover up the words on top of the text that you have already read. This will prevent you from rereading information over and over again and help you move forward, focusing only on the key lines that are in front of you. Now, of course, if you have to go back and reread a passage because you didn't understand what you just read, that's totally fine. But using the note card method can definitely help increase your reading speed, especially if you're someone who struggles with rereading the same words over and over again or getting stuck on passages. Number 14, another note-taking hack is to outline your notes before you read the text. So a lot of textbooks will have an outline in the back of the chapter that tells you the main ideas that it covered, or you can even go by your teacher's outline or go by the section headers in the text. Once you have a pre-outline done, you can take notes by filling in the gaps with important information that you come across as you read. This will help provide a structure to your notes and make note-taking faster instead of just writing down random information that you might think is important as you're reading. Number 15, when you are studying, lean into mnemonics. I have a whole video on mnemonics and different type of memorization strategies, so be sure to check that out. But mnemonics are some of my favorite ways to memorize important information, especially complicated science stuff that has a lot of important details. All right, number 16 is another productivity tip, which is eat the frog. What this means is doing the task that you are least looking forward to first. Once you get that task out of the way, it's so much easier to go and do the rest of your work. So for example, if you have a practice sheet of stoichiometry problems for chemistry, and you really don't want to do that practice sheet because you know it's going to take a long time or you feel like it's going to be challenging, try it first. If you do find yourself getting stuck, that's okay. You can put it to the side and try it again later. But once you get into something that you think may be challenging or difficult or just something you don't want to do, the more likely you are to continue or to keep the momentum going with other tasks. This doesn't have to be a difficult task. For example, it could be as simple as organizing your backpack. You really don't want to do it. You've been putting it off. If you do that first, you'll be more likely to continue with the other things that you need to do in your studying schedule. Number 17 is to use your teachers as a resource. Too many students that I've encountered, even myself in my high school days, were too nervous to go to teachers and ask for help. This is not a sign of weakness. In fact, asking teachers for help is one of the best ways to build relationships with teachers and for them to get to know you better. So make sure you use your teachers if you're feeling confused, if you need extra support, or even if you're doing just fine and you want to learn more about a particular topic that you're excited about in class. So whether or not they offer office hours or study sessions during lunchtime, or have offered maybe for extra resources or additional reading materials that they could provide, take advantage of those things and use your teachers for help. Number 18 is similar, but it's use your friends and your community. Talk to people who are in the same classes as you. See what study resources they're using. Talk to people who have been in the classes before. See what students have done to be successful in the classes that you have already taken. Number 19 is to keep your big goals in mind. When you are in the study trenches, it may feel like the only thing that matters is getting an A on the next assignment or finishing your notes for your reading quiz the next day. But remember, when you are doing difficult and challenging things, what you are in it for. Why do you want these good grades? Are you trying to apply to a college that you really want one day? Are you interested in a career path in that particular field? Do you just feel like it's something you have to do because of parental pressure or peer pressure or pressure put on by the school? Whatever it is, make sure you take a breather and remember what's important to you. Prioritizing things like your mental health, your physical health, and your relationships with people around you. And when you feel like things are getting difficult, keep your big goals in mind as inspiration to keep going. My 20th study hack, the last one I'll share with you today, is to subscribe to this channel so you don't miss out on any other life science or life lesson resources that I post. Thanks so much for watching. Best of luck with this school year. Give this video a like if it's been helpful, and I'll see you later.